This video is the first in an introduction to chords. The series is designed mainly for pianists, but any musician wanting to learn chord theory would be able to learn a fair amount from this. There will be some things that are specific to piano. We assume that you can read music and you have an idea of what scales are. Shown here is an example of some scales. You'll notice numbers are underneath the letter names 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. This becomes important that we number the notes of the scale to help us identify chords and intervals. You should also know what intervals are, the distance between notes. Do you have a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh, or an octave? Here is a graphic showing the notes of the treble clef and the bass clef. What is a chord? A chord is simply 3 notes played at the same time. Usually, in most music, it consists of chords built on intervals of thirds. In this first example, the first note, middle C, is shown. That's what we call the root, because we're going to build the chord on that note. Everything is built above the root. We add a third above the root, an E. Then we add a fifth above the root. If you count up by letter names, C, D, E, F, G, that's 5 notes. You always count the first note when you're counting intervals. We move on, we start with an A, we add a third above that, a C, and then we add a third above that, an E. So the fifth, although it is a fifth above the root, it is also, and this sounds a little funny, but if you think about it, it's a third above the third. Thus, all of our chords are based on intervals of thirds. Now you can have chords with other intervals. Fourths are used a lot in jazz. But most music you'll hear, when we talk about a C major chord or a D minor chord or an A minor or whatever, you're talking about intervals of thirds. If you look at the second line here, we have the C again for the root. Then we go up a major third. That's 4 half steps. If we count from C, C sharp is 1 half step. D, D sharp, E, that's 4 half steps. And that's what we call a major third, C to E. From E to G, that gives us the fifth. That's only 3 half steps. E to F is 1, F to F sharp is 2, F sharp to G is 3. So we have a minor third. This is what's known as, the chord put together is known as a major chord. In the last example, we start on A, we add a minor third above the A, that's only 3 half steps, and then we add an E above the C, that's a major third. And in both examples, from the root to the fifth, it's 7 half steps if you were to add it up. The big difference is the middle note. Is it 4 half steps from the root, or is it 3 half steps from the root? With a major chord, it will be 4 half steps. With a minor chord, it will be 3 half steps. Major, in those 4 half steps is a major third, 3 half steps is a minor third. That's where we get the name major and minor for the chord. On the piano, if you were to start on C, 1 white note, or skip a letter name, C to E, E to G. A minor, it's also skipping white notes, A to C to E, but the intervals are different. Thus, we have major and minor. You will note above the final chords, the C major that we made and the A minor we made, we have letter names there, C and AM. C, or any other letter name, A through G, without anything following it, is always a major chord. When we have a minor chord, we usually put a small letter M after the letter name. So we have an A minor, a B minor, a C minor, and so forth. Sometimes you'll see this written out as M-I-N, and sometimes you'll see it written as A minus. Personally, I don't like the A minus because I find it hard to read when I'm sight reading something. And A minor just takes up too much space, so I prefer to use AM for the minor chords. In the next section, we'll talk about 4-note chords, and 5-note, and 6-note, and even 7-note chords.